Hey everyone, I hope people are able to hear me and see me. So if you have joined the stream, can someone confirm if you are able to hear me and see me? Hey, thank you, Venkat. Thank you. So yeah, let's wait for a few minutes for a few other people to join. Does not really matter how many people are joining, but let's see. 4, 5, 6, 10 people. Whoever joins, we will go ahead. So I'm just putting something on a particular slide, what exactly that I want to speak about in this stream. Predominantly, this would be about this is a beginner session, so the goal is to share some insights from my own experience when it comes to learning tools like SAP Ariba, which I have the most experience in that tool. But you can always replicate to any other digital procurement tools. So just to share from my side, it would be sharing some of the repository where any beginner can learn to start with when it comes to SAP Ariba. Then I received some of the questions about transitioning from a operational role to a consultant kind of role. So broadly, what is a consultant's role, or what does a consultant do? What kind of job, and what predominantly what's the definition of a consultant in that sense in this SAP Ariba or SAP functional procurement transformation space? Then I'll talk about some of the generic job search or interview kind of preparation ideas that might help some people. So that is the goal overall in this. Hey Lakshmi, thank you. I think we can start this session formally. So just give me a moment, and I would like to share my screen. So I just wanted to set the context in terms of what we are going to discuss. For example, SAP Ariba, the relevance of SAP Ariba, or what does it do? What is the end goal when any customer and company adopt these tools. So where does it sit actually in the overall SAP kind of portfolio? Because if you see, SAP is a large product company. It provides a solution for you know entire length and breadth of any organization when it comes to infrastructure, business process integration, then connecting with other partners, let's say suppliers or third party service providers. So it's it's genuinely end to end kind of solution provider, and there are very few companies out there that covers so much that SAP does. So in this document, you can see different areas where SAP kind of performs. So if you start from the lowest area itself, infrastructure, right? So these days, you might have heard that every company is kind of moving their infrastructure to cloud, right? So SAP has these cloud offerings, so their own solutions are hosted in different kinds of clouds, so Google Cloud, Alibaba, Azure, and so on. And they also support some of their customers to sort out their infrastructure issues, right? So, and if you go up, on the business technology platform, HANA, that we call it, so that is kind of big right now, and it has been for many years. BTP itself is a platform that allows a lot of innovation, a lot of app development in last few years, and it is going to progress upwards. Then the one step above is the automation layer. You see the integration and extension layer, and that is where you see all this massive API development, open API options that SAP does, and there are other solutions, right? Other companies like Microsoft, ServiceNow, any other similar companies, they have their own APIs. So using these APIs, you can really integrate systems which are known as non-SAP system. You can really bring in data in and out of SAP architecture. Similarly, it holds true from the other side. So if I, as a service now kind of process owner, want some data to be pulled out from SAP, I can check my API repository, which are the APIs that helps to achieve that, or work with someone on the other side with SAP to understand what are the SAP API options that can help achieve that goal, right? And next step up is the end-to-end process. This is where predominantly I will be talking about. The Ariba sits here, right? SAP has a what SAP has done so far is, in the last few years, they have come up with this intelligent enterprise kind of structure where what SAP's vision is that all companies can be divided into, you know, whatever they do, it falls under four different business processes. One out of that is source to pay, and there are HR functions, which is hire to retire and there are four broad processes what I'm trying to talk about. So, but we will focus on the source to pay area. So SAP Ariba is part of this overall source to pay, which is this end-to-end process that I wanted to highlight. So when my experience is in source to pay, there are people who are in finance, on the HR, so they have different experience. Ariba falls under source to pay and in the spend management area. Uh, what I have done in the past, uh, in my channel in 2021, I did couple of live sessions. You can find those in the live tab in my YouTube channel, where I have discussed the SAP Ariba offerings. So, what are the different modules and capabilities of SAP Ariba? So that is in really detail. Today will not go really in detail. Maybe in coming few weeks I'll have more sessions to take people through exactly different modules, the functionalities, and so on. But I just wanted to give you an update, or give you an idea that where does SAP Ariba sit in the overall architecture. So it's in the end-to-end process, and once to the top layer, what SAP is in the one network, the business network area, which is Ariba network. If you have heard, Ariba network is used to be one of the network for SAP, and SAP has now clubbed other few networks like the logistics network, asset network, clubbed it together, and now it's a offering, business network offering, where using that network you connect with suppliers for your digital transactions, not just from procurement point of view, because they have merged these different capabilities. Now it's supply chain, asset tracking, logistics. So you know let's imagine that you have ordered some products, and it is on the road, in transit. So you, along with Ariba network, where you have placed the order, you have received confirmation from supplier. Using this logistics network capability, you can track your goods in transit, um, and there are many other capabilities, right? So the point I'm trying to put across is, uh, to what extent the capabilities of these offerings are. So yeah, huge, given the current scenario in the world, the economic challenges, the supply chain challenges. So uh, I hope that this gives an idea that what are the different components or products and services SAP provides, and where does SAP Ariba sits in this whole architecture. So for now, I'll stop here. I'll just see some of the response from your side, some of the comments. Hey Abdul, thank you. Supply chain collaboration process. Okay, dynamic discounting. Yes, I plan to do so, but not exactly, you know, in this stream, because I did couple of sessions in 2021. Like I said, it's in my YouTube, but this is predominantly I'm starting again after a kind of gap. Um, so this will be predominantly a beginner session to talk about overall, what SAP Ariba options in terms of learning, and then some of the generic questions that I receive when it comes to transitioning from different roles to Ariba consultant role, and some to end this stream. I'll just share some of my views in terms of preparing for interview, job search, and things like that. But definitely, I'll plan for this going forward. I'm hoping that I'll do more of these live sessions this year, and I'll try to stick to a kind of schedule every few weeks, one session, so that I can really go deep into particular modules, capabilities, and things like that. So yeah, let me start with some of the resources. If someone is a complete beginner when it comes to SAP Ariba or any other digital procurement tool, how can you approach your learning? For me, it's easy to speak about SAP Ariba because uh, I have the most experience in that. I have uh, touched upon other few modules, sorry, other few tools, competing technology options, Coupa, Ivalua, um, you know, in, let's say, in the pre-sales kind of activity. So it's not that I have hands-on experience there, but I have had opportunity when it comes to pitching some of these projects to customers while I was in consulting till January last year for 11 plus years. I got an opportunity to kind of compare the capabilities of these tools alongside SAP Ariba, because sometimes, depending on the scale and the scope of the project and the company itself, right? Because when it's a relatively smaller company with relatively smaller budget, SAP is kind of a premium product in terms of licensing, in terms of implementation cost, in terms of post implementation support, and run and maintain kind of activity, because this it SAP has a larger scale. The scope is, the standard feature of SAP kind of covers the length and breadth of business process, and some companies do not need that kind of complexity. The extent to which SAP provides the scope, because SAP has so many features and the product itself can do so many things. The price is higher, right, compared to some of the other competitive products. So coming back to the point, I had opportunity to uh, you know get a basic understanding of some of these other tools, but I have worked for so many years implementing SAP area for several customers, and with my own research, what I've found is, when it comes to free resources or overall inclusion for anyone, be whether you are a student or a beginner kind of consultant or experienced consultant or someone who is really expert, recipe is a vast network, right? So it's much easier to find resources, people, mentors in this area easily than any other competitive platform or service provider. And I think recently, last year, SAP completed 50 years. So I think it's fair to say that it has stood the test of time, and um, there is, in near future, there is a lot of competition in the market, but SAP is growth, and the scope and the capabilities continues to grow, and I don't see any challenge on that side. So Venkat is asking, what is the future scope of Ariba? You know, so the product within SAP portfolio, it's changing, right? Because SAP, it's not just SAP Ariba when it comes to procurement. There are other products within SAP, so S4 HANA sourcing procurement. Within S4 HANA, then there is cloud on-premise modules. There is central procurement capabilities within cloud, S4 HANA cloud. Then for with Ariba, there are other like Fieldglass, Concur. There are different products. So the scopes keeps, it's a dynamic kind of environment within SAP. And when it comes to offering, so when it comes to implementation, you have different options. A customer company can implement Ariba end-to-end solution, or they can pick and choose a portion of Ariba, for example, Ariba catalog alongside S4. So, S4 procurement, but only for the procurement content, you can use Ariba catalog alongside your S4, or you can use only Ariba guided buying with S4 to provide your users that experience. So when it comes to guided buying, it includes the catalog piece. So both the content and user experience comes with guided buying, and rest everything is in S4. Or you go end to end, Ariba buying and invoicing. So from requisition to invoice and payment. Similarly, on the sourcing side, it's sourcing, contract, supplier management, so end to end. So depending on the need, the scope of the project, and you know there are other considerations also, right? So whether going only Ariba makes sense for some customers, which is a SaaS cloud option, or you want to combine it with S4, or you want to use Ariba but with some a non SAP kind of backend, Oracle or Microsoft or any other backend system. So depending on all these consideration, things changes. But I saw in 2021, 2022 there was some discussion within LinkedIn, within a supposedly expert community, that they were discussing how Ariba is going to be scrapped next couple of years. Nothing like that, right? It remains strong in terms of product and the scope it covers, and the challenges it solves. But there are, like I said, every few months you see new startups coming in the spend management, source to pay, order or invoice or sourcing, contract, supplier management. So there are smaller companies who are focused on one of these areas and they're trying to excel in that area. So for a particular customer base for SAP, there is a lot of challenge when it comes to small and medium size enterprise. But when it comes to relatively larger enterprise and global organization, SAP by far is the first choice when it comes to adopting ERP or these kind of business process transformation, source to pay, hire to retire, finance. Uh, you know, SAP remains the first choice for many large organizations. So let me quickly share my screen again, and I want to talk about some of the free resources which are available for any beginner to start learning the SAP Ariba, at least to begin with, because it's always easy when you have all the resources, but if you are a beginner and you have no, let's say, system access, but you still want to understand Ariba, what are the features, um, and you know uh, you can prepare the ground to once you have the system access, or once you are in a project, you can really kickstart your kind of contribution pretty quickly. uh, so for absolute beginners, I always ask them to go to OpenSAP, because in OpenSAP you have the beginners courses. And if I can quickly log in and show you, Here I'm just logged into OpenSAP. I logged in with my Gmail, so you don't need any. Everyone has a Gmail, so you can just you know use your personal email to log into OpenSAP, and you can search for the existing courses. So if I go to, if so exactly here, let's say I want to search for Ariba, there are no like recent courses in OpenSAP, but there are few courses which will give you a initial understanding of what Ariba is, the scope and everything. There are a lot of courses on SAP Fieldglass which kind of addresses the external workforce management and other capabilities. But in terms of Ariba, these are some of the courses. There is a pretty beginner courses. What is SAP Introduction to Ariba? It's few years old. Then there are S4 plus Ariba. So what is Ariba and S4 in a nutshell? So these are good courses to start with. So you get overview of the procurement side of things when it comes to S4 and Ariba, and what are the capabilities, what is Ariba procurement, under procurement, so what are the different components, sourcing, contract, supplier management, supplier risks, and then the network side of things. So not just the buyer point of view, but from the supplier point of view, what are the innovations. So you learn here, but it's not just the courses within OpenSAP. You can always go to podcast, for example. You can go to OpenSAP podcasts and you can hear some of the large uh, senior stakeholders from large companies. They're talking about procurement, supply chain, and everything. So you can see that there are different categories, kind of playlist that is already there. So you can see industry, based on capability. Uh, there are a lot of things that you can find. There are procurement based podcast in this, so you can just search and find out. Just wanted to. A lot of people come to OpenSAP, do some courses, but there are great podcasts in this OpenSAP platform too. Then there are something called micro learning. Here, it's not exactly beginner kind of focused, but you can find Ariba related content too in micro learning. There are some, let's say, administration videos. How can you configure some of the guided buying capabilities in this micro learning area? So all this for free, with your Gmail, you could access OpenSAP. So that's the first thing that any beginner should start with, right? Then I would say, let me just quickly close these OpenSAP browsers. OpenSAP is one. YouTube, I have used, you know, on the SAP Ariba channel. Every day I use it. I check for new videos. So this is SAP Ariba's official channel, and you can see that there's so many videos, right? So you can go to playlist and you can really, it's already there. So you can see that for supplier management, for direct spend, there are so many playlists already. I'll just, so here the self-service videos are genuinely configuration videos. So you can see for sourcing the 27 videos, guided buying 22 videos. These are like uh, exactly what experienced consultant do in implementation. Most of these videos are actual configuration videos, implementation from implementation point of view, and there are a lot of, let's say, best practice videos. You can see, you know what are the key kind of standard best practices that one can adopt in different Ariba projects. So YouTube is a great place to check for extended. So there are videos like end to end. For example, SAP Ariba contract compliance. If I type contract management, you see that there are long videos that so many videos, right? There are people who have created tutorials, and there are in the SAP Ariba channel itself, there are many videos where you can see contract compliance overview. It has like different component, takes you step by step what to be done each step. So I think most of the beginner specific informations are already out there for free. Just that one has to really search and find those things out. So YouTube is another great place to look for different SAP Ariba playlist based courses, and you can start here easily. But one of the most structured free portal is help.sap. So if you go here, everything you have. Just that you have to be little smart to find, to figure out. So if I come here, help.sap, no login, nothing, right? I'll just type Ariba in this search box. So it will show me product. So you can see that there are different products. So I'll click on SAP Ariba here. You come to SAP Ariba page, so you can see that this is the latest documents which are available here, available for the till the latest release, which is the end of last year. The new release is coming in March. The February release for this year has been delayed till March. I think uh, it's coming sometime this month or towards the second half of this month. So in by March, the new release. So the new features, all these documents should be updated. So when you come back here, it would be 232302. That means February 2023. So you can see that this website is up to date with largely everything for beginners. For example, if I go inside SAP Ariba procurement solutions, procurement is like most sorted in this website, because if you click here, SAP Ariba procurement solutions buyer help roadmap, I'll just open it in a new tab, and it has everything when it comes to SAP Ariba downstream. We call it like order to invoice. It is saying that what are the different, so these are the modules that you can have the entire SAP Ariba procurement, which is buying, invoicing, contract invoicing, which is the contract compliance part, catalog, and guided buying, right? This is what everything together is the Ariba procurement piece. But you can have this kind of mix and match. In the first few minutes, I spoke about how companies can choose, um, you know, within Ariba, what are the different pieces you can choose, right? Depending on the licensing structure. So here you have everything. How can you can start from the navigation within the website, within the portal, from approval configuration. You can see what a usual approver or a user can do, what are the administrative tasks. And once you click on it, and not just it gives you this kind of folder kind of structure, you can really download the documents. Don't worry about it. You scroll down, you said that more recent version, click on here. You see, so you find the genuinely official approval process management guide. You can download this. You have this download PDF option. You can learn from this website. You can just click step by step, right? You can go through this the content, or you can download that this PDF for your. You can download the full document. So if I, for example, download, click on it. Nowhere it's asking for any login, nothing, right? So you just downloaded the latest approval configuration, how you can do it for requisition, uh, invoices and other things. So these are, it's available. So it's just Ariba procurement I'm showing. It goes for all other modules, right? But Ariba procurement, like I said, it's the most structured in this help.sap website. So we are in inside Ariba procurement. You can similarly go through sourcing tab, which is sourcing, contract, supplier management, and so on. Again, this is Ariba network, the business network for procurement side. The integration piece, which is Ariba cloud integrations. So you can, this website has so much of content, everything for free, right? This is help.sap. The next one I wanted to talk about is the SAP community portal. There is a link from here, from help.sap itself. You can go to community.sap. Similarly, you can type in Google community.sap. There are a lot of questions, articles, and demo videos, new webinar kind of information. So you can watch a lot of demos for free. And there are linked to different SAP, Ariba, social media handles like YouTube that I showed before. And then if you are a customer, you can attend some of the webinars, some of the resources. But at this point, even if you are not, and you don't know whether you are a you belong to a company, or even working, not working, a student, you don't have to really bother about it. All these information are available out there for free. So you can check the community content, and you can see what kind of questions people are asking. These are actual project questions, real world challenges people are facing. So if you have to, I get a lot of questions that how do I know, uh, you know, what are the genuine real world challenges? Because I'm not working in a project. For example, I'm a beginner and I'm a student, but or I'm a beginner consultant and I'm just playing a support kind of smaller role in a project where there are much experienced people are there, and I have little to no exposure to real configuration. So how do I learn, or at least get myself updated with what are the real world challenges, not just in my project or my company or the company, in my customers landscape, but across in the industry, for example, I'm in, or other industry. For example, you are working for a retail company, a retail customer, but you want to understand what is happening in pharma, what is happening in manufacturing. So you learn a lot when you look at the questions and challenges, when even though we are not the one who are going to solve those, but from the questions you try and find a pattern, right? So I'll try and stress on that later on in this stream. But here you can, the point that what I was trying to make is you can follow these tags, right? You can follow these tags, you can filter through these tags, and you can see different questions and blogs people have written, people are asking, and a lot of people are answering those questions. So there are a lot of learning in community.sap.com. I hope this helps. So these are some pure completely free resources. uh, there are others, but it comes with little caveat. For example, Ariba Connect, right? If you go to Ariba Connect, it asks for a login, right? If I click here, now this asks for a login. And how do you get this? It says that you need to have a S user ID, right? So If I click here, it asks for a S user ID and S user ID or your work email. So how do you get it? So the point is, if you are a if so for that you need to have a work email to start with, right? So not just any work email. So you should be part of a company which is either a partner. When I say partner, that means companies like TCS, Infosys, Wipro, IBM, Deloitte. There are hundreds of companies, big companies, and there are the smaller companies. Because SAP has a different tiers of partners, a top tier. Then there are several tiers, gold and platinum, and so on. Different nomenclature are there, and the point is either you are employee of a partner company, or maybe you are not a partner, not in a partner company, but you're in a customer side. So you are working for a company that has SAP products implemented in its landscape. So in that sense, and if you are working in any of these SAP business end-to-end process in any capacity, so you can be like senior manager, like category managers, sourcing agents, or the order analyst, or just a reporting, any kind of role, you can check and asks for your supervisor help to get a S user created. So uh, once your S user ID is created with help of SAP, and they do it, I would imagine for free, the basic access S user ID, you can come and use your mm, work email, and you can try to log in here. So I'm just using my work email and logging in, but there is no licensing in that sense. There is no paid services to Ariba Connect. So if you have as user, you should be um, able to log in and access, right? And here you have you know you have so much resources. It's mind boggling. um, if for example, once you have S user, you have logged in, maybe the case that you are not a Ariba key contact from your project side, so you will not be have that option to create this Ariba cases incidents. So let's say there is a issue in your project, and you want SAP's help to solve it. You need to come and create a case here to solve, take help from SAP to solve this. But maybe you are not a Ariba key contact, so you don't have this option, but you have all other option. So the most sought after option is this answers option. So you have all the document, official document, you have link to SAP community, but also you have option to deployment. This solution deployment tab takes you to a repository of document and files which are used in all implementation projects. It's structured in a kind of modular fashion. So procurement, which is buying and invoicing, you see, for example, if I scroll down, I see what are the best practices, process flows, narrative document, test documents, technical overview, approval. How do you configure? So what are the different documents and CSV files, right? So all these are. I'm getting too technical now. Should not have to in this session, but you have so much of genuine implementation content in the Ariba Connect site that people forget to explore this part. So this is massive, and like I showed in help.sap, you have document center here. You have all the product documentation for modular fashion, you have all the product options here. You expand all the tabs, and you can just download the document. You can go to exactly where you want, and take help. So this is how you navigate, you take advantage of what is available to you depending on in which stage you are, right? So this has release information, when the new release is coming, what are the announcements. You can see which data center is impacted, when are the some of the infrastructure changes are happening on the SAP side. So once you have all this information, you can quickly check in your within your company, or your project, whether your project and your deployment is aligned to these kind of changes or not. um, Readiness is where you see all these 3-month release. uh, you find all the documents here, the release highlights, release summary. You see, you know if you click, you can find out the document for each new feature. For example, it takes you to, again, you come to help.sap, and you go through the document. You can download the document, exactly like what I was saying. So for some of the new features, you can find the KT document also, like videos or PDFs. See, so this document can talks about the new feature in detail. So it has a description. What are the customer benefit this new feature provides? So by doing a mix and match of all these activities, going through the questions in community .sap, going through this help.sap .com, and going through this new features, guides like this, you gather a lot of information, the challenges, that genuine business challenges, and how the solution is coming from, let's say, SAP Ariba in this case, right? So this is about, more or less, about Ariba Connect. Again, one of the major thing is, you can just search for anything here. You can just ask questions, search. Let's say Ariba approval process. You find bunch of questions, queries, issues regarding to that topic, and let's say in your project you are facing some challenges. You can come here, just search about, just like Google, you search about it. So you get so many relevant information that might help you to fix the issue, even without taking SAP help in this case, without creating a case to SAP. Okay, I will stop sharing at this point. I'll just take a look at some of the comments if there are any questions or so on. Vaiva is asking how to get a SAP Ariba server access for practice. Uh, I'm not sure. So what I know is, definitely there are a lot of training institutes that who are providing this access, right? Uh, if you have, for example, if you are already working for a partner company, like I said, you can have access. You can work with your supervisor or your learning department to get an access to SAP Ariba Learning Hub. So in Learning Hub, it's a paid, so it's a license based platform, right? So um, but it's much easier to get access to Learning Hub in partner companies like TCS, Infosys, Wipro, Deloitte, KPMG, UI, PwC, than any other companies. So if you are in these companies, You can check. I think these days they give without asking SAP Learning Hub access, but you can always check if you don't have access to Learning Hub. And within Learning Hub, you have 60 hours of live system access, so you can practice up to 60 hours, different modules. So S4 HANA, finance, procurement, Ariba, field glass, so on. So that is kind of as for no sorry within if you can get access to Learning Hub. But Learning Hub, we individually, it's extremely costly to purchase Learning Hub licenses. So you can always explore with your employer if you are working in any kind of shape or form in the SAP process system. uh, you can always check whether you will get Learning Hub access or not. If that is not possible, you can, of course, you can explore. So you can check some of the training centers. I'm sure there are standalone Ariba systems for practice are available, depending on how these training centers are getting it from SAP. I think for partners, it's not just in Learning Hub. I think a lot of these big partners, they can have a demo system, because these big companies, IBM, Wipro, HCL, Deloitte, and any other companies, uh, they have their own demo system, because they want to demo their own. They pitch their project to new customers every day, right? So they need the demo system beyond the Learning Hub to have their consultant configure some of the processes and demo it to existing customers, new potential customers, get new projects, and so on. So that is also an option if you are in these kind of companies, uh, that that is a partner company, SAP partner company. um, Check if your companies have a demo system access. You can ask for the login, just that everyone has. So across the company, people will be working in those platforms, so you will have a lot of redundant data, and sometimes it's difficult to kind of navigate and create your own configurations because of data issues. But nonetheless, you can definitely check that. Where were we saying that I checked one training center, they are charging for so much. uh, yeah, it's hard, right? So uh, there is no, I'm not sure what's the solution here. Either, you know my approach always have been, what I want to suggest beginners is to try and check if you can get into a project first. Get into a project, or into a job, for example, uh, and at least, even if you are not doing hands-on activity in the landscape, you still have the test system access. uh, but if there are limitations around that, you are still searching, looking for jobs, then it's, yeah, if it makes sense for you to go for training centers and get an option of system what they are providing, maybe that's one way to approach things. But like I showed, it's not exactly mandatory for someone who is a beginner to get a lot of system access to begin with, because, to be fair, to be honest, when you go for interviews, people if you say that you are absolute beginner, if you have 6 months or a year experience, people are not expecting a lot of system hands-on configuration experience from your side, right? What they want is, do you have the basic understanding, the process understanding? When they ask a question, how are you approaching to answer that? They approach, the generic idea, the general know-how is much greater. It has a lot of importance when it comes to, compared to the system access. So I would say if you are beginner, just starting out, you have little experience. I would not think, if I am in that position, I would not think that I need a lot of system access to grow, right? Until and unless you are in that 3, 4, 5 years of experience in a particular area, nobody really expect you to kind of extremely hands-on in system, because people know that when you get into a project, once you have the process understanding, you will figure things out, and there will be senior people to help you out, right? So that is what I wanted to talk about the resources. The one last piece is SAP Learning Hub. Like I said, that is the paid option. Usually the partner companies, or even a lot of customers these days, are providing it to their employees. So that is the one final option people can check. But I think a lot of people can explore the Ariba Connect option, where you just need to have that your S user ID, right? And if even if that's not possible, there are other ways. So OpenSAP, YouTube, help.sap, community.sap.com. So all these forums are giving, you saw that it's structured, it's folder style, so you can really target your learning even with these free resources. Yeah, I will stop here on the different options from where you can start learning Ariba. That was my take on that whole topic. Okay, so I'm just looking at some of the questions. Bebab is saying how to get a job in Europe countries as an SAP consultant. It's not much different compared to, if you are in India, for example, or any other locations. Not much different, but yeah, there are few things, right? For example, I think you have to be reasonably experienced. So let me just frame this response in a broader job search and job hunt point of view. No matter where you are, I think what I'll try and share right now should help you finding out job in your location or other locations. See, there are some locations like US, it's difficult, right? No matter what you do, until and unless you have that H1B kind of visa option, it's pointless. But there are areas, there are countries in Europe, there are places for Singapore or Middle East, where it's worth a shot, right? So the first thing is you have to be reasonably skilled. You should know. So I think as a beginner, I don't see how and why you'd want that, right? So if you are a beginner, you're starting, you should take the nearest possible job, or the first few options that you get, because you want to build experience, you want to build that system and process knowledge. So having dreams is great, right? Having dreams and traveling the world, staying in far off places, going to US, Europe, UK, other places, Middle East, so on. But first, you need to build that base. So you have to reasonably skill. So it's up to people, how much time it takes. If you are already you are in a job, in a job, you are starting out. It's not just about skill, right? It about, if you are in a company where, how what kind of opportunities are there. So if it is a company that has a lot of onshore projects, and that has kind of, if the customer encourages a lot of travel, I know people who have traveled within the first 12 months, 18 months, 2 years, and that has become the long term kind of stay for people, right? But usually for me, it took like seven years after I got my first travel opportunity, and really to lead a project in Europe. So it depends for everyone what kind of, who is your employer, what kind of projects they have, whether you are a consulting side, or you are in a product side, in the customer side itself. So there are so much on that point itself. But from the job search point of view, there are, I just wanted to, I'll come back to that, what I was saying. There are really three things you have to kind of focus on. Is one is, the first thing is your profile. So it's profile, presence, and persistence. The first thing is profile. Profile is your CV. So your experience, your knowledge, and how do you put it in a shortest possible format, and you share it right with people. So how can you condense and present your skill set in a way that people will like and would like to have a chat with you? So you have to build that. Your Prepare a CV, use different templates. You can check if you have Microsoft Word. You can use different templates and mix and match and see which template looks good for you. So putting your photo and writing down your experience. Use 3 4 different templates and see what feels the most correct kind of profile to you. And when it comes to putting, writing down your experience, first you write it down, as much as you can. Then start editing, start removing redundant words. If the same experience, if you are repeating in different sentences. So if you are someone within 4 or 5 years of experience, I don't see why you cannot put your CV in one page, I would say. From my experience in Europe and spending 2021, 2022, interviewing in dozens of companies and having like multiple offers, um, I have close to 12 years of experience now. So 2021 was what, like 10, 11 years. And my CV was two page. Uh, so if you are half of it, I would say your CV should be like one pager, or beyond 5 years you should have like couple of pages uh, uh, CV. So any longer, I would say take a proper look, reduce the words, the verbose where you can. So that is my profile. So that is what I wanted to build your profile, and so write it down, revise, edit, and make it really concise and like pinpoint. You call out your experiences, your strength, but see if you can, you know drop some words wherever you can. Because people, from the profile, people do not want to understand, know that, in detail. So just they just want to see your highlights. So make it in a such a way that it just attractive enough to call you for an interview, right? So that is the goal of the profile. And also when it comes to Europe, or I think many other places, along with profile, you should have a cover letter. Cover Similarly in Word, there are a lot of cover letter template that you need to use. And just you can just put 3 4 lines that, this is my key skill set, and I want to apply for this role, and looking forward to your response. So that should be just your cover letter kind of text in the cover letter, with your email, phone number, your address, and that kind of thing. So always take a look at these two documents, and keep applying. I don't think in this day and age, if you are using LinkedIn, does not matter where the location is, you have so many jobs to apply for, right? So because getting into a job is as much a game of skill, uh, it is also, I would say, at least same or even a greater a game of probability. So if you are not applying to many jobs, your chances of getting multiple interviews reduces drastically. So keep applying. So that was, from profile point of view, I just wanted to talk about that. Then the second point I had was the presence. When it comes to presence, LinkedIn. So you have to kind of leverage LinkedIn as much. It not just that I see a lot of people, beginners or who are just starting out. They're using LinkedIn to share, memes, political stories, movies, and music. Then and I don't have anything for and against it. It's up to people's choice, right? But for me, LinkedIn is my kind of work social network, and I am focused on sharing only relevant information, and I want to share what I know or what I'm interested in LinkedIn. I want to share relevant articles, videos, discussions in my area of interest. I want to write blogs, articles from my own experience in my area of interest. So that's how I see LinkedIn for me. Because I want to be relentless, focusing on narrowing down my area of interest and focusing on what I know and where I'm interested at. uh, and that, for me, that has really worked. Building, connecting with people in that area, connecting with experts in that area, um, people knowing me from my interests and my skills. So that is how I've been using LinkedIn, and think that is an reasonably effective way. People see, different people have different motivation, right? Some people are into sales and marketing, some people are social media persons. So they have this responsibility to share multiple stories from multiple different topics. When you are kind of focused as a functional consultant or as a process consultant or as a expert in a particular niche or a particular area, at least in first few years you have to build your base in that area, right? So if you are not doing that, and from the beginning of using a platform you are just straying, swaying in different directions, it's very hard for other people to identify you as you know your from your interest, right? Because if you show interest in hundreds of different things, it's very hard to get noticed. So at least for first few years you have to kind of build your base in your area of interest. Where do you want to build your base? So that is what I want to say when it comes to presence. The last thing is persistence. You have to be patient, right? You have to be patient. You have to keep applying. You have to you know keep changing your CV, and keep applying. Then you take a lot of interviews. You understand what kind of questions were you struggling with. You change. You prepare for those questions, for next interview, and so on. What I did, because like I said, I by till 2019 2020, I think, when it comes to things like SAP Ariba or S4 procurement, I was reasonably confident to take up any kind of role, in that space. So from 2020, 2021 onwards, I applied for all kinds of roles. So whether it's a consultant role, project manager role, or in the customer side like process owner kind of role, I applied to many different roles, IT lead roles. I applied to many. So I had, you can imagine that the interviews were different, the kind of questions were different. So I had to prepare differently in, for these different kind of roles, and that gave, so when you do that, after, of course, you have to be, like I said from the beginning, you have to be reasonably experienced, reasonably skilled. So you need to spend a few years to reach to that stage. uh, when you do that, and you are able to get interviews for different kinds of roles, you learn a lot, like what suits you the most. Now, some of these things may be more appropriate for experienced people, but the approach I'm saying, the profile, presence, and persistence, it applies to anyone, right? Whether you are starting or you have like 20 years of experience, it applies to anyone. So that was, my wherever, I hope that makes sense. You need to keep applying, and change your keep changing your CV, and reach out to the regional, some of the hiring agencies. In LinkedIn, you can find so many people. If you want to move to Germany, you can find hiring companies in Berlin, Frankfurt, and other cities. You reach out to them, you say that this is my profile, do you have relevant uh, opportunities there? So people do not have to wait. You can reach out to other people from their side and just share your interest, share your profile, ask for feedback, for example, that for a particular market, for a particular job market, whether my CV fits, do I have to change the template, things like that, right? So just use common sense and keep connecting with people and ask for kind of relevant response. Okay, so that is something I wanted to talk about on the generic kind of job search and preparation interview point of view. There was one last point. I do not want to have this stream for very long going forward. Just maybe next 10-15 minutes. One last point is, one of the questions I usually get is, I am in a operational role, for example, someone who is an invoice processing agent, or sourcing analyst, or ordering agent, and they want to move to, how can they transition to a consultant kind of role, or anyone for that matter. So my response is this, excuse me. So if you are already in procurement space, I would say use that. So if you are already for example, a contract analyst, or a category specialist, or beginner in that one particular category, or just doing some market research, reaching out to suppliers, keeping a track of not just price, but what exactly changes for in your category, or in your kind of business. You are a category analyst, or a contract analyst, or let's say you are just creating processing orders and receipts. You're just a operational shared services person. So difference between an operational kind of person like this and a consultant, if I have to highlight one point, is the end-to-end view, right? So are you someone who is able to look beyond your piece? So for example, you are just creating orders and processing receipts, or something. Are you able to think and kind of connect the dots end to end? So starting from your requisitioning to invoice, for example, or even broader. So from where this, to create an order, for example, you need many things, right? You need a, the user access to the system. There needs to be master data. There needs to be supplier, details, and there needs to be, accounting details. There has to be a tool, right? A user interface. The user interface has to be, for example, for beginners, has to be user friendly. The process should work using this tool. So there is a, proper marriage between the business process and this IT tool. So are you someone who is able to think about all these, you know, things, even if you are in this role, which is a limited role, but are you able to broaden your kind of horizon to think about these things, and are you able to connect these dots? Because the consultant is, the challenge that the consultant has to deal with is broader. So that is the key difference. As an operational person, the challenge that you deal with is, it's a, comparatively limited. So if you are struggling to create an order, you reach out to someone who fixes a data or something, then you are through, right? You start doing the same things again. Tomorrow you come and you do the same activity. But as a consultant, you have to keep this kind of end-to-end entire process in mind. So I would say a consultant, you deal with a larger challenge, and the scope itself is larger. So you are addressing to a, bigger challenge, bigger vision. uh, it's not just about, let's say, uh, the master data or the user authorization piece or user experience or compliance. So as a consultant, you need to have these things, in mind, alongside the IT configuration that of course people expect you as an IT consultant to do. But you always need to keep these things in mind while performing, in a project. And even beyond that, you as a consultant, you should be the one who should be driving, discussions within business, IT, and external, counterparts, service providers like SAP, and so there are different parties, and you are able to bring these parties together for different conversation that challenges the existing business process, and maybe if there is opportunity, there is scope of improvement, you facilitate that. So that is one of the key areas that you are able to facilitate these conversation that ends up, somewhere, with a greater kind of outcome. So that is consultant's role, I would say. And you As a consultant, you continuously ask that question, that whatever is going on in the scope of the project, is it aligned to that vision, right? So let's take an example of a film, right? Movie. So when it comes to what is the bare minimum, what are the basics, or uh, the most core element of a film, the movie, is it's a script, right? So what it is. So you always, as a consultant, you always compare it with the vision. So, what is it about? Why we're doing this? Right? So that is the key question you constantly ask, and you highlight that point. If someone is talking about certain kind of user authentication, login to the system, a certain way to perform, order creation, certain way to, reconcile the invoice, a certain way to trigger a sourcing event. Are you someone who is always, validating the discussion on these points with the vision of the project? What are we trying to achieve with this, right? So, you know um, Going back to the movie analogy, so script is that, vision is the script. So what it is about, right? Then you come up with how to do this, how you can do this, right? So that is like, in movie context, that's the screenplay. In these kind of procurement projects, that's the business process. So how to execute the vision, right? So screenplay is the, so you kind of write it down. So the documentation, the process, the discussions around the business process. It's not just the process, but who does it impact? The project that you are doing, the goal, and this larger goal of transformation, how does it impact to the real people? Because the it's about people, right? You are impacting a lot of, if you're a large organization, you are impacting the globe in that sense, in this transformation project. So who are the your stakeholders? So different, who are the different people, different roles, different stakeholders that will get impacted, and how this transformation will improve their experience and their objective. When it comes to the movie context, it's the actors, right? Who are the actors? So you need to have the script, you need to have the screenplay, you need to have the actor. Similarly, in project context, you need to have the vision, the business process, the stakeholders, the persona, for example. This is the new buzzword in many of the discussions. Who are the personas? Then you need the tools, right? In movie context, you need the camera, the location, the team, and everything. So similarly, in a project, you need the tools. You assess different tools. You get the right tool for your, based on your budget, your goals, and then you have the setup ready to kind of execute. And similarly, for just like movie analogy, you are rolling, you are into action mode. So you know just wanted to put it out there. You can always, as a consultant, your job is to really touch upon all these areas and constantly kind of calibrate what is happening right now in an assignment. Does it align with the end goal, the greater goal, and the vision of the transformation? So I would define consultant's role like that. So if, no matter where you are or what you are doing, if you are able to connect these dots and you are putting these kind of mentality and a thought into practice, you should be able to make the transition, right? So that is my message out there. I think that is where I will stop this today's session. I hopefully going forward, I'll plan for more frequent sessions to answer more questions, to go deeper into different SAP or Ariba capabilities, and any other topics. I'm just quickly glancing through if there are other questions. Venkat is asking, is there any vacancy for SAP Ariba consultant in Netherlands? I'm sure there are, right? I'm sure there are. Just try and use LinkedIn, use the LinkedIn job search option, put Netherlands or European Economic Area as your location, and just filter. Just you do the basic kind of search, and um, so there are a lot of jobs. There are definitely a lot of requirements in overall SAP area. I'm not exactly sure how many jobs are in SAP Ariba space, but I'm sure there are a lot of source to pay requirements, not just in Netherlands, but in Belgium, Germany, Spain, other locations. So definitely, it's always worth a shot applying to multiple different locations. So please do that. Okay, and I would say thank you so much for everyone who joined, and hopefully this session may provide some clarity and some guidance how to approach these different areas when it comes to learning SAP Ariba or any other digital procurement tool, or how to approach your interview, job search, what it means as a consultant. So hopefully you had some insights and you should get some advantage out of it. Thank you. Bye bye.